How sure are you that the student is treating you this way because you're black? Perhaps there's some other explanation for the behavior?
Well, at first I wasn't sure, and I thought I'd ignore it, but as time went by, it got worse. For example, at our second group meeting, one of my group members told me that, well, maybe I shouldn't investigate affirmative action because, well, black people get too emotional and I might be too biased in studying it.
I guess that indicates that this is about race and not just a personality difficulty. You may be right that the student who is projecting these negative attitudes thinks you can't cut it because you're black or that you were admitted under special circumstances. Or perhaps the student is just uncomfortable working with black people because he or she has never done it before. I think the best way to handle this is through a group discussion.
Look, I don't want this to be a big thing. I don't want people to think that I can't handle my own problems.
This is not just your problem. This is an institutional problem, and you should feel free to seek my help and the help of others to resolve something that is affecting your academic and social life on campus. I think what I'm planning will serve as a learning opportunity for the whole group.
Well, okay, I guess.
Well, you've trusted me enough to come see me. Trust me once again.
No, we're not getting anything done at all.
We have to organize this right now and get this set up.
No kidding.
Stop fighting.
How's it going?
This is so bad.
Well, let me give you a suggestion. Since you've all had personal experience with the college admissions process, let's relate affirmative action to college admissions policies for minority students.
All right, well, we know that affirmative action is just to help minority students get into school. And affirmative action sacrifices whites' place in campus just so a lesser minority group can get in.
Can you elaborate?
Okay, everyone knows that the black SAT average is much lower than whites. So they need special incentives and they need special treatment to get into these colleges. Because otherwise they just wouldn't have it, they don't have the capability to do it.
Michael, you have no idea about any individual black's capacity to do work.
Right.
The national average doesn't mean that for all blacks at a given school, their scores are lower than all whites. And besides, a test, the SAT or any other standardized test, only measures one type of one part of a person's academic ability, and that's how well they retain information.
All right, let's relate affirmative action to college admissions. Let's assume that every African American who has been admitted to this university has SAT scores high enough to justify admission if he or she had been white. Now let's further assume that Brian is among those with SAT scores higher than most of you in this group. Now with this information in mind, put yourself in Brian's position and comment on Michael's assumptions.
I mean, we've met a couple of times already, and I guess when we first started, I noticed that we didn't really pay too much attention to Brian, you know, but he didn't really seem like he had too much to say. You know, I thought, I mean, the thought did cross my mind that maybe he just wasn't as intelligent as the rest of us. But later, when I thought about it, it occurred to me that not only did he try to contribute, but he tried to pull the group together to make a consensus for all of us, you know, rather than adding to the frustration. I mean, I guess we just weren't open to him being a leader. And I thought that he was probably just here because of affirmative action, not because of, you know, any real ability.
Well, you know, I've never really thought about my assumptions I make about blacks' academic ability. I just always assumed that they all had lower scores than me and my friends, so they were less capable.
Well, I mean, you know, I've never had anyone think I was less intelligent because I was white. I mean, I can't claim that. But I have been treated like a dumb blonde. I mean, that happens all the time. It happened just yesterday.
And how are the interviews with the black women in your dorm?
Good. I mean, I'm surprised they all have different opinions about affirmative action, but it's fine. Going well.
That's a good idea for you to do that since it's so easy to do.
Yeah, definitely.
I shouldn't have to go through school constantly trying to prove to people that I'm not here just to find a husband. And I don't know, I think we share the same frustration.
Well, I haven't had much interactions with blacks, so I base my opinions on what other people say and where blacks frequent. I mean, for instance, I always thought the Black Cultural Center was a Greek house for blacks. I mean, maybe if I'd went there myself, I wouldn't have thought it was stupid for Brian to go look for resources there. But instead, I relied on some preconceived notions of the limited information I have about blacks.
Well, I'm glad we had this discussion. We're out of time now. Let me close by saying that the negative attitudes and false assumptions about African Americans that we've been discussing often have a powerfully negative impact on their campus experience, and this in turn may have a negative effect on their academic performance. Now, I'd like you to think about what we've discussed and use it in the context of your research and your group. I strongly urge you to talk to black faculty, students, and staff about their personal experience with affirmative action. I think you will find that for many of the reasons we've discussed here, they understand the downside of affirmative action, but also recognize the positive aspects of creating opportunities. Okay, see you next week.
I'm really glad we talked. It's good to know not everyone thinks like Michael.